What is up, guys? It's Nelson here from Roger Airsoft, and today we are going to be continuing our basic infantry tactics series with an introduction to MOUT. Now, MOUT is an acronym that stands for Military Operations on Urbanized Terrain. Basically, in layman's terms, it's city fighting. This is something that is very tricky. There's a lot of technical stuff to it, and just because it's such a hostile and unforgiving environment, because it's so close quarters, that you really don't have a whole lot of time to second guess or think. It's harder to camouflage yourself in an urban environment as well. In forests or in desert, you have natural foliage, you have defilade and cover. But in cities, it's very cut and dry. It's all man-made buildings, and if you poke your head around a corner, someone can see you pretty easily. They're not going to think you're a bush. So, that being said, today we're going to look at some danger areas, things to avoid, things to watch, and some basic rules of thumb that will help keep you secured and keep you effective in a close quarters city environment. So, first off, you need to know what danger areas are, and you need to be able to identify them. A street. You never want to be in the middle of a street. If you find yourself in the middle of a street, you're dead. Doesn't matter. You can't survive there because you're going to get gunned down. This isn't a movie. You're not going to stand there and shoot off a bunch of rounds. No, you're going to get shot because you're in the middle of a street. There's no cover in the middle of the street, so just stay away from that. Alleyways are a very good place for the bad guys to hide. They can just pop out, shoot you, run away. So that's another one. And then there's doors and windows all over the place where an enemy could be hiding, ready to pop up and shoot you. So you need to be able to identify all these places. The alleyways and streets, the alleyways and doors and windows are really, you need to be calling them out, telling people where those things are so that they know if you take fire, those are the places to look for bad guys. Streets, you just need to stay out of them whenever possible, and if you do have to cross them, you need to cross with cover, which means you have to have one element covering you while you cross, because it's a very, very bad place to be. It's important to use buddy teams, especially in an urban environment. This just means 2 or 3 people, depending on how big your team is, and you can have more than one team. But in a 4-man fire team, you will have 2 teams of 2 people. One team will be responsible for covering when you move, the other will be moving, and you can bound, like we went over in episode 1. So you can apply the principles of bounding here to crossing streets or alleyways or anything. Whenever you're moving within an urban environment, be sure to be covering somewhere. Take these blue dots as your fire team. You guys have come up to this corner, and you have to cross the street. The first buddy team is going to set up on the corner with one guy looking down the street, one looking across. That way you're covering both ways your second team is going to be moving. Now, second team will then move across, and then they will set up on the opposite corner and begin covering the same way. Now, once they're set, they have to let the first team know, and then the first team crosses over. This is a very basic example of your standard bounding across a street. It's the same principles as regular bounding in a forested environment, just applied on an urban terrain. So, you need to be able to maintain a 360-degree awareness as well. This is another very important part of it, because you don't know where the enemy could come from. So if you're against a wall, have guys pointing their guns in the 180 degrees that you can see. If you are on a corner, make sure you can cover all 360 degrees of your area, just because you don't know where the enemy could come from. They could come from anywhere, and you don't want to be surprised. You need to communicate within this environment too. So you have to tell people where you're covering, what you're looking, tell them what windows you see, what doors you see, open window, alleyway, something. Tell your teammates so that they know what all is covered and what they need to be covering. And most importantly, don't stand around and do nothing. Don't just be standing there or sitting down against the wall. Have your gun up and be ready to cover and give fire in any direction that your team may need you. Because it's very important that you are on your game, because it's close quarters, which means that you have to react quicker than them. Now, we're only going to briefly touch on clearing buildings, where I'm working on the whole clearing buildings episode right now. But to clear buildings, the main point is you have to be quicker, swifter, more violent, and you have to be quicker on the draw than the other guy in the room, or else he will shoot you. The faster you can get through that doorway and into the room and putting BBs on target, the more likely you are to survive and succeed in your building clearing. So, that is really the most important things. Be quick, and be accurate. That's really the most unforgiving place because it's so close quarters, and you have to be right on point because you know that guy is staring at the door ready to shoot you when you come through. So, with that being said, that's pretty much the basics of military operations on urban terrain. There's plenty more you can do technically wise, but these are the main principles that will help keep you safe. So, thank you for watching. I appreciate this. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please feel free to let me know. I'm more than happy to answer you. If you have suggestions for new episodes, I love to hear them. Subscribe if you haven't already for the rest of the series. Make sure that you get all the updates on what's going on. Yes, hopefully next time we will be doing building clearing and that sort of thing. So, with that, thanks for watching. Peace out.